Hi, I'm Lee Caswell, VP of Storage and Availability Products here at VMware. Today, we're fortunate to have Anand Jayapalan here from Western Digital. Anand, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lee.
Great. Today, we're going to be talking about new HCI solutions. That's hyper-converged infrastructure, how that's being deployed, new flash technologies applied to hyper-converged, and then we've also got what's happening and what's new at VMworld. So maybe we'll start off with a little bit about hyper-converged and how that's evolving. I'll give you a couple snapshots from our side, and then we can go see how that plays into the disk drive side of the world. From the early days of ESXi and VMware, right, we've been a big fan of consolidating, integrating, taking advantage of new Intel CPU technologies, right, as a way to basically build more out of less, right? Hyper-converged is the latest element of that stream where we're bringing in compute and storage together, scale-out storage. And a big piece of that value proposition is tied to flash, because this becomes a management play, a TCO play, right? How do you see some of the new flash evolving to help with hyper-converged?
Hyper-converged is an exciting field. As we can see, storage industry is going through a lot of changes in itself. And the customers who are actually looking for more flexibility in terms of how they manage data and how they scale out as their needs are growing, actually opt for hyper-converged infrastructure. Really, if you look at what it really means from somebody like Western Digital, we actually have to provide, from a storage perspective, to the hyper-converged customer, an infrastructure from a storage perspective that can actually scale both performance as well as capacity, right, and the flexibility that you give for them to be able to manage their data. So we're pretty excited about the space because we've as a partner of VMware, we've got actually about 200 products within our portfolio spanning between hard disks and solid state drives.
Both working together, right?
Yeah, they're all vSAN certified. So customers can actually, for once, pick basically not just a performance play. They can actually pick performance, capacity, endurance. They've got this whole range of products, if you will, that actually they can suit for their. It's
an interesting kind of testament to our partnership, right, where we've got this choice element, right? You've got choice across the media that you'd like, right, across servers. There are vSAN ready nodes. We'll be displaying a lot of this coming up at VMworld, certainly, right, in our HCI zone. Yep. It's interesting as customers value or look at hyper-converged. One of the elements that they're looking at is, how do I think about, stop managing the storage and start just managing my business again? And so one of our theories, right, is that you're basically eliminating performance tuning with new flash types, for example, right? Being able to go and simply eliminate a lot of the kind of the manual work that had to be taken care of, right, to go and intelligently place or manually place data in specific spots. So, flash really now is coming from just an application acceleration model, I think, right, into now it's a management play.
It is really interesting that you bring this up because you no longer actually require an all hard disk or actually an all flash system to be able to work in a hyper-converged infrastructure. So, for example, with our products, our portfolio of hard disks, and as Western Digital carries both hard disks and solid-state drives, of course, we actually have reference architectures working with VMware and our OEM partners. And in the ecosystem, we actually provide basically all flash array capabilities as well as hybrid array capabilities as well. So in other words, depending on your use case and the type of infrastructure that a specific customer is looking for, we can actually customize through these reference architectures. And all of these reference architectures are going to be in display at VMworld. So we're very excited because a lot of our OEMs are going to be talking about it.
Showing these different solutions, right?
Yeah. So that's going to be an exciting part of VMworld.
Yeah, thanks so much for your support, by the way. This
is
should be a great, biggest VMworld ever coming up, right?
Absolutely.
So, one of the things we're thinking about on these on these vSAN ready nodes is the idea that as you get to pick and choose, right, that there are really now new high volume use cases that are evolving, right, as customers start to move this from the edges, right, into more of the mainstream. In other words, we started off with test and dev and VDI and some management clusters, and now we're business critical applications. Right? This is really an interesting, evolution, I think, as the capabilities, right, of both flash and disk, right, pulled together, or all flash, right, now became and take this technology mainstream.
Absolutely, and that's really what the intent of these reference architectures are, right?
Yes.
In other words, you could actually tune your products for actual solutions for high performance as well as actually scale out, right?
Yes.
So the what vSAN also enables through this is the ability to manage data more efficiently for customers who actually value that more important.
You know, for VMware, one of the things we're offering with hyper-converged in our vSAN product, and we now have 5,000 customers. Just to give you a perspective, right?
Wow.
And so VMware has 500,000 customers. So we're just 1% into the market here today. But as you start thinking about that, right, what we're bringing is all of this rich storage functionality, right, to folks that actually know virtualization, right? That know servers. And we're calling it serverizing your storage, right? That idea that now I can get that level of understanding the management construct and now bringing storage to that. We think it actually is more of a almost democratizing storage for the users.
Absolutely.
And how are you thinking about NVMe? When you talk about that externally, what's your...
So clearly NVMe is really going to be the future of the storage interface, if you will, both from the server side as well as actually in the storage array side. So it is starting to make its way into high performance. That is really where you're currently seeing a lot of end use applications that you're seeing, whether it's database acceleration or even in a virtualization environment, you're going to see a lot of that. Then it is going to find its way into the storage arrays, right? So where you can get a lot of performance because the surrounding ecosystem has actually enabled that, right? So you get now 40 gig to 100 gig NICs that are available.
Exactly.
So you can get super fast performance, especially on a scale out infrastructure as well, right? So that's the beauty about what NVMe does. And we're really happy and excited to have received our first vSAN ready certification for our SN150.
Yeah, exciting. Thinking about kind of the three waves of flash adoption, I'd be interested to get your perspective on this. So one was the very first wave was in-server flash, right? If you thought about that kind of Fusion IO background, right? And, hey, I've got application acceleration in the server, right? The good news was it was, dedicated for that application. The hard part was that not everybody wanted to put a, expensive card in a server when the performance wasn't shared. Then we came to, as the price of flash came down, shared storage then came, raging into the market because now I could share that performance across many servers. Now, the third wave of flash adoption I'm looking at is hyper-converged, where I can get the benefits of server-side latency improvements, for example, with NVMe, and now apply that into a scale-out model, right? So I can actually start to see the serverization, if you will, of that, where I get server-side flash acceleration, for example, and this broad management construct that makes it easy to accelerate and adopt.
Absolutely, and I think you're spot on in terms of the transition it has made, in fact, over the last 10 years in terms of storage pretty closer to compute, and then storage starting to disaggregate,
exactly.
And then now you're actually, but if you look at each one of them has its own use case where it's got a great fit for. So if you look at hyper-converged, most of the customers in that space actually look for a lot more flexibility.
Yes.
And then they really need they really need the data management support to be within the infrastructure, right? So these are capabilities that bring compute, storage, and networking together. So while I like to see these trends actually converge, but there is in its own way there is actually a lot of value going out of it, right?
So interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Anand, we certainly appreciate the Western Digital VMware partnership. It's been terrific. We're looking forward to seeing everyone at VMworld coming up with our joint products and solutions for all of our OEMs, customers, and partners. And we thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.